And welcome everybody back to the Flying Doghouse. It's 2 for Tuesday. We're going to have a look at Salzburg in Austria, based on the latest handcrafted airport that's been added with World Update 18. And while we're at it, we're going to do a cold and dark start with our good old friend, the Ford Trimotor. So last week we did a quick overview. This week we're going to fire it up from cold and dark and go have a fly. Let's get going. And if you're new to the sim, what the heck is cold and dark? Well, I mean, here's the deal. All right, so we've got several different ways we can start a flight. We can pick an airport and pick an airplane and pick a runway, take off and go. That's one way. Second way is pick an airplane, pick an airport, pick a parking spot. Press Control E and go. And then the higher level of complexity is pick an airplane, pick an airport, pick a parking spot, and start from cold and dark, which is the aircraft in its off state, not ready to fly, bringing all of the systems up, following the necessary processes and procedures in order to be able to taxi, take off, and then land, and then successfully park and power things back down. So we're going to do a cold and dark with the Ford Trimotor. And let's go ahead and get going. All right, so here we are in Salzburg. So once we finish and we have a fly around and we take a look at the scenery, we'll taxi back in, and then we'll use the drone camera to take a look at the airport itself. But for now, we need to get going in terms of our workflow process for following. I'm going to loosely follow the checklist here that's published with the aircraft. So the Ford Trimotor is available from the Microsoft Marketplace. It's a grand old bird. You may have gotten it for free back with the 40th anniversary release. It's a wonderful old airplane, and if you don't have it, I suggest you get it. There's also a higher end payware version that's like $40 at this time US. That's maybe a higher level of fidelity than this particular plane offers. But this one's great fun, and it's definitely worth the money, and certainly worth your disk space on your PC. So it's definitely sim worthy. All right, let's jump back on the inside of the airplane. Okay, here we go. All right, so several things to keep in mind here with the Ford Trimotor. It's an old bird. It's going to have some weird and wacky things in it. Like, here you go. Here you go for weird and wacky. How about the fuel selector switches behind the heads of the pilot and the co-pilot, along with the trim wheel behind the pilot and the co-pilot. Anyway, it's just a part of its old Art Deco charm, I suppose. Remember, this is a golden age aircraft, right? So this is one of the planes that was used to pioneer passenger flight. So it is a bit quirky. So as far as the instrument panel is concerned, you do have three choices, right? So I'm using the default, not going to change for right now. You can add a Sperry auto gyro to add some autopilot functionality, and then you can also add some modern touches as well to make it easier to navigate and have a fly. We're going to keep it old school here for this particular flight. Okay, so things to keep in mind as far as things in the cockpit. Luggage door and passenger door is closed by default. I'll jump outside the airplane now that they're on. So if you cut those on, then you're going to have baggage in the wings, baggage in the truck, and then the passenger door on the opposite side of the aircraft is going to be open. So that's one of your checklist items, is to make sure that those get closed and your passengers are safe and the aircraft is secured and all doors are shut. As far as your mixture is concerned, that's located on the central pedestal. It's the three red sliders here. So those need to be in full rich or 100% all the way up. Push toward the ceiling is a good way of thinking about that. And then the rest of the stuff that's on the pedestal, the magnetos and the master ignition switch is located here. You want master ignition on, and then the 3 magnetos, each associated with their respective engines, left, center, and right, those need to be in the off position. You'll also want to make sure that you have configured your controller for the Trimotor. It has 3 engines, so if you don't configure it for 3-engine flight, you're going to have some interesting aircraft behavior because it's going to want to spin like a top. So at any rate, so get your controller configured, and then you should be good to go. All right, so if your controller is configured, then the other thing that you're going to want to do is slightly crack the throttles. And then we're going to need some electrical, right? So we're going to need to cut our battery and our generator on, and we will also cut on nav lights, just to let folks on the ground know that we're getting ready to start doing some things inside the aircraft. And then we need to configure our primer switch for use, right? So we're going to pick an engine. We're going to unlock the primer and then give it a 4 pumps on the primer. So to unlock, you're going to use the middle mouse wheel and then simply click the left button to do your priming activity here. So we now have fuel ready and primed. And next step is then to follow the start sequence, which consists of hitting the starter, waiting 10 seconds or so, and then you're going to engage the solenoid for the engine. And then last but not least, you're going to turn on the magnetos, and you're going to need to listen to the pitch changes as that spin up is happening. You don't want to wait too long. If you wait too long, you're not going to get a successful start. Likewise, you don't want them on, the magneto on, before you have turned on the solenoid. You won't get a good start. Okay, so let's give this a shot. So we've primed the left engine. We're going to press the starter. And it should pop up, hit the solenoid. You'll hear the engine starting to spin up, and we want the magnetos engaged now. And I may have missed it. I think I waited too long. And I did. So we're going to try that again. Now, if you have to try it again, you're going to need to reset the solenoid switch. You're also going to need to reset the magnetos back to off. I'll repeat the priming process. And we're going to try this again. And we've got a successful engine start here on engine number 1. Good deal. Okay, so now we can rinse and repeat here. Let's put the primer in the up position here for the center engine, and now we can go ahead and get it primed. All right, so that should be good for that. Center starter engaged. And we may or may not have a successful start here on the middle engine. Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay, so we'll do it again. Magneto's back to off. Solenoid is off. Okay. So I think we've got ourselves reset here. Let's do the re-engage the center starter. Yeah, I think we may have the center engine now. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, your timing on this has to be right. And I haven't flown this plane in a while, and I used to fly it all the time. You do get into a rhythm. So, at any rate, it is worth the patience in terms of getting it up and running. All right, so now to the right. We're almost ready to taxi. Let's prime our engine here. All right, let's see if we can at least get one of these engines started the first time. Okay, here we go. By golly, we did it. All right, so let's let the engines here warm up a bit. We get the rest of our lights turned on. And we're ready to go have a fly. All right, let's pop outside the aircraft here. All right, we're going to be a little naughty and cut across the grass here. And we'll taxi out. Kind of enjoy some of the engine sounds here. And we can take a look at the airport too as we go. As I mentioned, this is one of the airports that was handcrafted for the World Update. So there's been a lot of work done on Salzburg. It looks very nice. Being a person who does scenery, this is excellent. A lot of attention to detail paid here. Where local knowledge comes in handy as well. And we're rolling right along quite vigorously here with our taxi. I'm sure the ground wouldn't be happy with that. At any rate, making our way down here for our takeoff. As you can see, even the airport fencing has been done here. And that is definitely a labor of love. It's quite tedious. Okay. We're almost ready to get onto the active here. Turny, turny, we a go-go. Okay. And we'll take off here on runway 15. And we'll just pretend we've gotten clearance from clearance. And we'll roll our throttle forward and roll. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a pre-flaps era aircraft, so no flaps here. It's not going to take it very long for the tail to come up. And we can go ahead and start our rotate here. Got a nice climb out. Yeah, let's jump outside the airplane. Take a look at some of the scenery here in Salzburg. And I'm going to open up a little nav map here. And let's have a turn. Make our way back over towards Salzburg. Seems a little bit fluttery today. Not too bad though. This will give us the opportunity to take a look at some of this handcrafted scenery that's available here. Oh yeah, this is quite lovely. Oh wow. This is awesome. Run the engine RPM up here a little bit. Like a nice large rail yard here. I'll jump back inside the airplane. We're not shouting over the top of the engine noise here. There we go. It's gorgeous. So our last flight that we took in the Ford Trimotor was in Bern in Switzerland. So we'll wrap up this series with the third handcrafted airport. We'll do that sometime this week. Anyway, lots of unique buildings here. Great attention to detail. Looks wonderful. Let's I'm going to give it some RPM and do a little bit of climb here. And you can judiciously use side slip to reduce altitude and speed in this aircraft. But really, it's more about maintaining some throttle discipline here. All right, we're at about 2,500 feet now. We're following the river. We'll go up a little further and then follow back in on runway 15 in Salzburg. Scenery looks very, very good. And hopefully I've done a good job of convincing you that the Ford Trimotor is going to be fun. It's very, very stable. I've got some custom camera angles set too, so we'll jump out and use a few of these. How about from the passenger's point of view? We're just riding along here. It's very, very well done on the inside. Very, very accurate to the period. Boy, don't those seats look comfy. All right, one of my favorite camera angles with this plane. We have a virtual airline, and we do tours, and you can sign up for a tour and you fly a multitude of legs. And one of the tours that I completed in this aircraft in its entirety were all of the airports in the UK. So that was a labor of love, but I also wanted something that was low and slow so that I could take in the scenery. And I can't wait to do the same with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, given all the advances that have been made in terms of how the scenery looks. It's just gotten progressively better and better and better, at least over the last 19 months that I've been doing this stuff. Anyway, custom camera angles are also fun to set up for yourself. Get down here underneath the undercarriage. All right, we'll turn back to our runway heading here, 15. Start getting ourselves situated for an approach. And then we'll jump back here in the cockpit. And we'll come back on the engine RPM here, start bleeding off some speed. And we'll jump back to the front of the cockpit. Start slowing up. So another technique to burn off airspeed, obviously, is to pitch the nose up. I want to be somewhere in the 70 mile an hour neighborhood here. So we're good. 68's fine. Again, it is very, very stable. Really, the only thing you really need to be thinking about in terms of landing this aircraft, it is a tail dragger. But it also has a high degree of lift, right? So at a very, very low airspeed, you can still pitch yourself up off the runway and end up with a nasty situation. So once we get down, we'll come off of the throttle and then we'll start applying some very gentle braking and then eventually some back pressure on the stick to put the tail wheel firmly on the ground. Make sure that it stays planted as we make our way in. Let's jump outside the airplane one more time. All right, we're coming back over the rail yard here. Pretty good picture here. I need to start bleeding off some more speed. And there are pylons on our approach, so we'll need to make sure that we avoid those. I think this aircraft has room for 12 passengers and then pilot, co-pilot, and then a steward or stewardess. And there is a toilet in the back of the airplane too that's quasi-modeled. It's at least paneled, but there are no fixtures in the room. All right, here we go. We're on final. Okay. I'm just gonna get just beyond the numbers. And we'll slowly start adding some brake pressure here. It is not likely to ground loop on you. So again, one of the things I'm doing is pumping the brakes. And I do have backstick applied here, and now the tail wheel is firmly on the ground. All right, we'll finish our taxi. Any rate, hope you enjoyed that. Good preview of Salzburg Airport. We'll get ourselves parked and we'll do a quick tour here in a drone camera. And then we'll call it done. We're so slowed down here for our turn. I just love the sound of this thing. Maybe one day I'll make it up to Oshkosh and hitch a ride. Because there is a Ford Trimotor that attends that, I think. at least every year I've been watching footage from that particular event in the U.S. All right. We're going to think much of ourselves, and we're going to taxi in here over to the main terminal. And then we'll jump into the drone. All right, here we go. Full stop here. We'll kill the engines here. And we can jump outside now. Have a spin around here. Isn't this very cool? So you can definitely take the drone and explore all over the airport, but I'm going to leave that to y'all, and I'm going to leave it here. So hopefully this has been interesting and informative to you. So please like and subscribe. Share the link with other folks. Love to have you along for the next video. Thanks for tuning in today. Hope everybody's keeping well. Cheers, y'all. Till next time.